Now, a lot of people don't believe in magic. Magic is something that's very much real. And I'm not talking about the old magic of illusions where you're pulling a rabbit out of a hat or anything like that, or you've got some sort of thing stuck up your arm and you're constantly bringing it out of your sleeve or some rubbish like that. I'm talking about the real magic. Real magic being spell casting. So for example, when you go to school, the first thing that you learn, or you kind of partially learn in a good way, of how to do it is reading and writing. Reading and writing is spell casting, because what you do is you learn how to spell things out, you learn how to read, you learn how to write, you learn how to pronounce words, and of course you have to learn each letter and what each letter means, and then you put those letters into a confined segment, which is a word, and then you create sentences and all this type of stuff, and then you spell things out, and then you cast those things forth, which is spell casting. I cast a spell on you, that type of thing. You're casting spells out into the real world. And that's what magic is. It's the use of language. Because language is a very powerful thing. There's different forms of language, and of course if there's spell casting, then there must be a duality to it, right? There must be good and bad, or there must be black magic and white magic. There must be different forms of spell casting, and there is different forms of spell casting. And one form I want to mostly focus on, I mostly want to focus on these two forms because it's very relevant to people probably watching this video, or people who suffer from procrastination or suffer from low self-esteem, is that people who do suffer from low self-esteem are usually casting spells against themselves in a form of black magic way. And this is obviously going to be very self-deprecative. Black magic in terms of spell casting, using language against yourself, is self-deprecation, and then white magic, the white magic of spell casting, is self-appreciation, where you appreciate yourself, you appreciate the things in which you want to try and attain, the things that you want to be ambitious towards, and you hold yourself with value, and you see the value within yourself, and you don't push yourself into a self-deprecative state where you will actually not try to do the thing that you want to do, but you're more than likely going to fail at it. And this is why it's actually spellcasting, and why it's actually something that affects you, is because the outcome is actually going to change. Words aren't just words. When we use words, we're actually changing the constructs of reality. This is what the runes or the runic symbols are all about. They were used for divination, they were used in they were used in mysticism, they were used by pagans, all this type of stuff. Lettering, words, they mean forms of and different things, and you use those things they used them to try and understand what the future was going to hold for people. The same way as when you say something to somebody, it means something. When something means something, it's going to change their perception, it's going to change what they understand, it's going to teach them something. Teach them something you want them to know about you, or teach them something new, it's a way of transposing or transferring knowledge to other people. We do that through language, we do that by writing things down in books, we do that by speaking abruptly with a strong sense of will and power, or not, the complete opposite. So it's like, language itself is very powerful, so you have to be very careful with how you use language in your own life on a daily occasion. If you're a self-deprecative person, you're always putting yourself down, you should expect that the outcome of that is always going to be a little bit more, negative than positive, because you're not setting yourself up for success. If you want to set yourself up for success, you do not want to be self-deprecative. You don't want to be spell casting things onto yourself which are that of a black magic value, basically. You want to be doing it of white magic value, where it's affirmative and it's appreciative of yourself, where you are in self-appreciation, then self-deprecation of yourself. And this is the issue that a lot of people face, and even with people who get depression, who have anxiety towards things, or if they have low self-esteem, or if they have very low confidence, or if they are not confident within themselves, people of this kind are usually a little bit more self-deprecative, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it's something that everyone goes through. Everyone goes through a form of self-deprecation at some point towards themselves. But the best way to try and get out of that is by being able to achieve something which always affirms the ability that you have which will always put you on a pedestal of pride. Pride is also regarded as something today, something that's very bad. People don't want to be celebrating your wins in anything or celebrating the achievements that you get. People are like, oh, pride is bad. Pride is usually flipped towards maybe like sexual liberation and sexual expression, rather than the actual achievements that people accomplish, which should be the form of pride in which people celebrate with each other. But it's rather tilted on its edge towards something a little bit different now. But the thing is that if you want to try and gain a form of self-appreciation so that you do have more courage, you need to be able to try and achieve something that is going to give you that courage. And you use that as a catalyst to reaffirm your ability in this world. On top of that, you might notice that maybe you even used different forms of language that kind of set you up for failure as well. So this is something you also need to notice. And we do this all the time, and this is usually due to our privilege. Just as modern individuals who are living in an age of great wealth and abundance, is that we usually don't have respect for the things that we have and the things that we do on a daily basis. And we usually view things and use a certain language that closes us off into a certain perspective of life. So it'd be like, a lot of the time we say, oh, I have to do this. I must do this. And with those use of those words, with have and must, it's of a very strong closed offness, rather than saying, I get to do this. I'm allowed to do this today. Or all this, I am gifted to do this. We need to use a different perspective, a different use of language, so that we don't reaffirm things in a negative way, which keeps us down and keeps us in a certain mindset that isn't useful for ourselves. And that also itself, if we use closed off language that's, tilted to a certain perspective of life, and that also is going to close us off in a certain way from feeling certain feelings that are going to make us feel better throughout the day. Saying I have to do this, I must do this, I need to do this, is very it's not very open to experience, and it's very kind of, again, self-deprecating, because it's like, well, I don't have any other options. I have to do these things. It's another day in the life of my boring life. I have to do these annoying things I don't have to do. It's like it's a constant view of the world which is very cynical. It doesn't, when someone speaks like that, it doesn't sound like they enjoy their life. But if you want to enjoy your life, you have to speak in a different way, because at the end of the day, you're casting spells onto yourself when you use certain language. Or if you're talking to someone else, you're casting spells onto that individual to evoke certain emotions. Or if you want to express yourself, let's say you're angry and you express your anger. It's not just anger within you, but it's anger that's also going to be transferred onto them, and they're going to feel angry as well. If you get angry and that individual then gets angry and you're expressing a form of anger to each other, or is it a form of love or a form of joy or anything of that nature? Language holds emotion and holds value, and we have to be very careful with how we use these things, because they affect our lives on a daily basis, and it's not something that's very well understood. But when we do speak words and we use language in certain ways and we write certain things out, we're very much casting spells into the world, not only into the world through a form of divination, but also onto ourselves when we're talking about ourselves with either positive regard or negative regard. So if you want to work with me on things like this in a very specific manner through like a lens of procrastination, if you're someone who's suffering from a lot of procrastination, for example, then this is the type of stuff I very much focus on when it comes to building people's self-confidence, when it comes to mentoring, coaching and stuff like this. So if you're interested in trying to defeat procrastination in its many different forms, this is one of the forms in which people procrastinate, is through self-deprecation, then check out the link in the description below, and we can develop the best action plan possible to go ahead with what we must be able to do so that you can be the best version of yourself. So if you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure to give it a like. Check out the links in the description with regards to courses, stuff like that, and coaching, and I'll speak to you in the next video.